How's it going, listeners? Welcome back to CuboldCast. In this episode, we're going to be talking about how free games are affecting the gaming industry and how they will affect the future of the gaming industry. And today, we actually have our first true guests on the show. They're from a YouTube channel called Should You Play It? And we've actually done a collaboration with them already with our YouTube channel, Cubold Gaming. So why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about what you guys do.
Hello everyone, this is Michal from Should You Play It?
And I'm Caleb from Should You Play It?
And we are all about free games from Epic. That's what is our main focus is on, but we're trying to expand our gaming focuses as well. But we cover all the weekly free games from Epic, and we review them, and we give notes all about it.
So we got started about almost 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
And at that point, Epic was giving away one game every 2 weeks, and we thought, hey, like once every 2 weeks would be good for us to just take a look at this and tell people like if it's interesting or not. And quickly after that, Epic started giving away like a game every week, and then sometimes like 3 or 4 games every week, so it really snowballed. But we managed to keep up with it, and the main idea is to try to help gamers spend their gaming time wisely. And so we play all the free games so that like our viewers don't have to.
Sorry, go ahead, Jay.
You guys have a lot of videos too, so you must play an awful lot of games.
Oh yeah.
Well, we just recently reached 1,000 videos. Not all of them are reviews, of course, but especially last year, we tested a lot of new concepts.
Yeah, we've tried a lot of different things. And I mean, just following Epic has given away 231 free games to date.
That's crazy.
Wow. That's insane.
And with a few exceptions, like we have like tested all of them and done a review of all of them. And then like we were doing gameplay for a while. Yeah. We do multiplayer tutorials, we do live streams, and like for this previous Christmas 2021, Epic was giving away a free game every day for 15 days. Yeah. So I was on vacation, but Michal actually did like a prediction video for the next one.
Every single day, basically, every day. Like 3 to 4 videos.
Yeah.
Non-stop. And streaming live as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's crazy.
That's why we reached 1,000 videos pretty quickly. So we're trying to pull back from that now and get it a bit more under control, because it's still a hobby for us. For you guys also, right? Like it's still a hobby for you, but you guys put like a lot more editing time into your videos. It's a very different approach, I think. Like we're kind of coming at 2 different angles to the YouTube thing.
We usually try to put maybe about 4 videos a month up. So we do one big collab, and then we do 3 individual videos in each month. So that's our goal for this year.
And I want to say that, what is it? Yeah, I was going to bring up, also, there are 3 Calebs here. So there's obviously me, Chug,
should I leave?
Caleb?
No. There's 3 Calebs now.
Are we all spell? Do we all spell it the same way? Like CALEB?
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's the same spelling too.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I want to say, it's funny because I was just about to bring that up. How Michal, or sorry,
Michal.
I'm trying to pronounce it right. Michal. That is crazy that you did a video a day. Is that right? For 15 days? Is that
4 videos a day?
Yeah, 4 videos.
4 videos.
What?
1 live stream, 1 prediction, like 2 separate videos.
An announcement video, and
there
was something else like.
Yeah.
What was? Yeah, I can't even remember anymore.
Well.
Yeah,
a lot of videos, but I knew it's only for a limited time, so that's how I could do it.
They were short and like their lifespan was like a day.
Yeah, and I missed the 24th. That is the Christmas day for us.
That really helped grow your channel too.
Yes. That's why we actually did it, because we got like 700% plus during the Christmas.
9,000 new subscribers in a 2-week period.
Wow. That's awesome.
Crazy. I was talking to them about this when you first told me that, Caleb, and I was saying, I think maybe planning something like a frenzy week, or like, I don't know, like a video frenzy where we just upload like every day or something would kind of be fun to experiment. I don't know how well it'll do with our videos because, the way we rank and everything is like different than most. But I think that would be really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the thing is, and I think we talked about this a little bit before, Caleb, that it had nothing to do with us publishing more videos. I know YouTube is always like, publish more regularly and publish more videos. I think that can really backfire. The only reason that it worked for us and the only reason we did it this time is because there was this external hype that like millions of people probably, I don't think I'm exaggerating, heard about this promotion. And Epic Games put in all the money to market it, to give away these free games, to get everyone excited. And we basically just, harvested that because because of Google search results and everything, most searches about Epic free games kind of end up at our doorstep sooner or later. So when there was this huge event, we benefited from it, but we could not have manufactured that like ourselves. So that's also a problem, is that this worked well for us. But if Epic Games tomorrow decides they're going to stop giving away free games, like it will take us a very long time to find a new thing that we're known for. So we're kind of putting ourselves in a corner. It's working for now, but it could easily backfire.
Yeah.
Have you thought about moving from Epic to other platforms, like kind of like what we do, like Steam or Ubisoft or whatever you were thinking about doing?
Yeah, we definitely did, and that's why we're trying to introduce a new series outside of Epic to cover like new games. We're trying these reviews like once a month to do something. It doesn't pick up as much as Epic, so that's why we're like still keeping everything to Epic. But one day they're gonna end, and we're gonna have to move somewhere. So of course we're discussing the other ways. Yeah.
But we're really kind of, it is a problem. We're kind of stuck now whenever we do try other things. Like we've tried lists like what you guys do. We've tried gameplay. We've tried like expanding to other platforms. But most of the people who have subscribed to us, it's because they want to know about the free games on Epic. We just got our most recent comment, because we tried a review of a game that wasn't free. And he says, I subscribed for free games, but this is the second not free game. I'm happy you guys are getting review copies, but this doesn't serve the purpose why I subscribed.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, like, yeah, that's just kind of a jerky comment, except that there's unfortunately some truth behind it also. So YouTube is really tricky. You can find something that's successful, but then it can kind of undermine you in the long term. Like, I really, like, I think you guys are on a good path, that maybe the growth is a little bit slower and more gradual, but so much of your content is evergreen and people are like finding it over the long term, that I think that makes a lot of sense. And I wish we could find a way to transition a little bit into that, but we're still working on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have sort of a similar problem where we'll do streams a couple times a week and people will jump on the stream and ask if the game is free or not.
Every time.
Multiple times per stream.
Most of the games we stream aren't free. So we should do more free game streams.
Well, but we have started out as a guide channel, technically.
Yes,
that's true.
No, we were before the guide channel. We have these videos unlisted, I think. But before we were a guide channel, we would do gameplay videos, like where we would do highlights of we'd all get together in a chat, play a game, and we throw up highlights on the channel. So that's where we first started. We didn't see much growth in it, so we moved to guides and gameplay tips. And
that's a little bit of Cubold lore for you.
Yeah, you won't find those videos because they're unlisted. But
do I remember correctly that like most of your most viewed videos are like lists of best free games in certain genres, right? So yeah,
and it's funny.
That's what people want. Yeah,
exactly.
It's funny. I mean, Mikhail, I know you said that when Epic stops, which we'll get into that when we start discussing free games in the future of it, but I don't know if that's ever going to be the case. Maybe not. Maybe Epic will stop, but I think we'll get into that later. But it's funny that you say that you feel like you're trapped in a certain genre, because we feel like that a lot too. And we do a lot. We do a few paid lists, like best games under $20 or whatever, and those do really well. So like we can get into that, and we want to get into that more, but we just haven't yet. But I think I don't think it's like a lost hope. I don't think you're necessarily cornered into this genre, because as long as you branch out with having some familiar aspects of what you already do, I think you should be able to slowly kind of crawl your way into more aspects. But that could be like your main quote unquote moneymaker or whatever. That'll be your drive. And so that's kind of like what we're doing. We're experimenting with other stuff.
I think, Caleb, you are absolutely correct. And I'm going to share something with you because I think the people who are like doing comments and everything, they usually like basically kids who want the free games, and they are mostly hurt. But as we also find out that a lot of people want us to talk about paid games as well, but they don't comment like all the time, so we don't hear them as well. But they are there in our channel. It's just minority, but there's still a lot of them.
When people usually have a need to comment, it's usually because of something negative. There's more negative comments than positive, so I could see how looking in the comment section, which I didn't look in the comment section of our last video because I'm scared to look in the comment section.
I know, but
I just don't like doing it.
I know, but people need to hear from you too.
I know.
Yeah.
But
that's something you guys talked about in your last episode, right? Is like the reviews on Steam and how hard it is to evaluate like how accurate they are, because generally people are more likely to comment if they have something negative to say. So even if something is overwhelmingly positive, it's like, oh my God, how is this possible in the world that we know? But if something is mixed, it could still be great. Like I've watched like TV shows or played games that are not critically successful, and I'm like, hey, like what's the problem? This is great.
Yeah.
It's hard to know what people want.
Well,
Exactly.
I think people that are disappointed or they want to leave something negative, that's a stronger emotion, and so it brings them the action sooner than people that are happy with the game. Because I rarely ever leave reviews, but if I don't like something, I'm gonna leave a review and I'm gonna let them know about it.
For me, if it's something that I generally had a lot of fun with, I'll leave a review. Like PUBG, I left a review for PUBG.
Yeah.
Because we got hundreds of hours out of it.
Yeah.
And now it's free, which we'll talk about later. But what is it? Like, I'm trying to think of something else. Like
PUBG was mixed.
It was mixed, yes. But like, let's say something that's not paid, or that is paid, like Battlefield 5.
Yeah.
Like, I think I left a review on Steam for that one. That was mixed for a while because you probably saw all the controversy around it. But I don't know. It's weird.
Sometimes I'll leave a good review.
Coming back to negative comments on our YouTube channels, like maybe the last question before getting to the main topic, but have you guys ever found that you're really like shaped or not affected, but that you make changes or make choices based on the comments that you get on the YouTube videos, either positive or negative?
Not usually comments in particular, mainly the reception overall in terms of likes and views, and people will tell us, like in the Discord too, that they really like certain content. But we don't really pivot based on the comments. Because a lot of people will say, oh, this is a great video, or other people will say, oh, I hate this video. It doesn't really affect the type of content we put out.
I think the only time we have like a reception towards like either a negative or positive comment is if someone says, like, oh, I love this video, do more like this, or it would be interesting to see this, and then that's when we take that and kind of make a video out of it.
Constructive feedback.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I gotta say that, you know, and we have all our show notes here, but I think we're pretty comfortable, like with this dynamic. Like at least, you know, there's obviously the technology that's kind of like a little wacky because we had some issues beforehand, but at first I was like, oh man, I don't know. There's 5 of us and I don't know how the dynamic's going to go, but I think we're doing pretty well. So I think that's nice to see. And I think this is going to be a pretty good conversation overall.
Yes.
But
well, officially thank you for the invitation. During the introduction, didn't get to thank you for inviting us to be on your podcast and to be your first guest. Like that's quite an honor. So we're really pleased to be with you and looking forward to the topic.
And this is actually our first experience too, because we've never been on the podcast before.
Yep.
You guys should hey, maybe this could be a kind of like a little
intro into it.
Yeah, a little intro into maybe your subscribers would kind of like seeing you guys in this longer format, and I mean, we love it. It's
we
one of
just
our
hit
favorite things to do.
our 50th episode last podcast,
Yeah.
the Battlefield one we just did. But that was our 50th episode. It was a fun episode to do. So
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
For a while, we were doing bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks. But now this year, we transitioned to weekly podcasts.
It's actually worked out fairly well.
mhm.
Yeah, people seem to really enjoy it.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys have seen this, and audio listeners too. Last episode we did a weird candies challenge where Chug bought like the weirdest candies.
It was like
online.
12 or 13 different types of candies.
And we didn't know what they were. I mean, I knew a few, but I was not ready for how gross some of these. One was pizza.
Yeah, it literally.
It was so gross.
It tasted like what a dirty restaurant's floor smells
Yeah.
like.
Oh,
Literally.
It was nasty.
And then the what was it? Durian.
Durian candy.
Durian candy, which was
The durian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
I don't know.
And you
guys
tried it
probably
on the
saw that.
podcast.
Yeah,
we
you
did.
could go back and I mean,
Okay.
if you, it's
It's at the very end.
So,
So,
everybody could hear how disgusted you are after trying
And
durian
see us.
candy.
yeah. One of them was the dill pickle. It was literally
Oh, yeah.
a little, yeah, a little candy coated in like dill pickle, and then the inside was filled with this green liquid that coated your mouth.
it was all salty and
Ugh.
I don't even.
It was really nasty.
We almost puked, I think. But
wow.
The
I'm
toe
actually
Satan
tempted
too?
to try.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you did the dill pickle candy? You said you tried
did?
it?
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
you
I
can
would
try
like
it.
to try because
Oh, you
I
would
like
like
to
to
try
try.
new things.
Ah.
I'm quite picky as well, but I like to experiment. And sometimes I like weird things, and I don't like normal things. So
yeah,
Yeah, we've been
You never
having
know until
spicy
you
stuff
try it.
too.
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, we did some spicy stuff last week. The Toe of Satan candy. It's like 9 million Scoville units.
Yeah.
It was
It was
ridiculous.
insane.
So I only bought one of them, and it was a lollipop about maybe that big, and I broke it up into like a ton of pieces because we weren't gonna just eat the whole thing, so that would be ridiculous. But we all took a small piece. It was ridiculous. It was worse than the wing challenge we did on another podcast.
Ugh, that was,
It was
so.
It
you
was
can-
bad.
You can literally see me. So I'm over here dying, and then I think I like laughed or I coughed or something, and you can literally see this snot like come out of my nose because of how hot it was. It was awful. Yeah.
I'm guessing Mikhail wouldn't
not
do that.
I would not survive that. Caleb likes hot, and
No, I
he
hate-
sometimes
Oh,
tells
okay.
me the food is not hot, and I try it and find out it's actually hot. So he's got his limit really high, and I
don't
got
think
it really
I don't
low.
think I do. Like
Yeah.
ginger is too spicy for you.
Ginger is spicy.
Not. Ginger,
Well, that's
no.
what
we-
Well, it depends on what ginger you get.
I
Yeah.
mean the hot spice.
it's-
I eat ginger as it is.
I've tasted food specifically thinking of
Yeah.
you and thinking there is no like we traveled in
Yeah.
several countries
Yeah.
together, like in
Yeah.
Thailand. I've
Yeah.
tested food for you and said no, there is nothing spicy in there.
And I couldn't eat it.
And he takes a bite and just
Yeah.
immediately turns red.
Yeah.
It's quite incredible.
So your challenge, I would probably not survive.
It would-
be
it would-
my first and last.
it would kill him. Yeah, absolutely.
It was a lot of fun, though.
It was. It was
Sounds like it.
No, something that with podcasts that a lot of people don't realize is that there barely is feedback. Like, we try to get people to give feedback on our podcast or even interact with us, but they really don't because they're more passive listeners.
Yeah.
That's why we've been doing YouTube podcasts lately because we're hoping that we get more subs from that and people will actually comment and give us feedback and all that stuff.
And the weird thing is, we have a pretty large audience on audio listeners, but
They never say anything.
There's
Yeah,
like
they don't-
maybe 20 or 30 views on all the video podcasts.
yeah, the
on our
video we're
channel,
still building out, but the audio, yeah, we have a ton, but people just don't like. We've told them, hey, come into the Discord and we'll chat and stuff. But I mean, I do the same thing. I don't really listen to podcasts all that much, but I used to, and I never interacted, so I could see that.
It's true. I mean, I listen to a ton of podcasts, and even when they say, hey, send us an email, like, I never do it. But usually it's like big mainstream podcasts. I don't think that there's going to be any impact there. But hey, everyone listening to this, like, Cubold Gaming wants to hear from you. And now they're going to tell you like how to contact them. Like get on their Discord and follow us on Twitter or YouTube or whatever, and tell us what you think of this podcast because we want to know. Like should you play it? Should we do more podcasts? That's the.
Should we podcast it?
Should you podcast it? Yeah, tell us.
You guys really should. You guys really should.
You should. I think we have a lot of fun with it. So if anything, it's something more, or it's something else to do that's enjoyable.
Yes.
Actually, we do something similar. Maybe you're not aware of it because it's for our members only, and like once a month or once a 2 months, we get it on Discord with members only, level 2, which is like usually like 5 people only, but we do an hour just with them. We don't record it or anything. We just get to touch with our members and talk to them. And they're fine if they don't want to talk, but we have like at least 3 or 4 people who are happy to talk that and really easygoing.
You could turn that into something. I mean, maybe... Yeah, you could turn that into like a podcast format. You don't want to take away from talking to those people, but that could be in addition to it if they're okay with it at least. I mean, I don't know how that would work out.
We thought of checking with them because it's true. We have interesting conversations. They're all like pretty hardcore gamers, and they're from the ones who usually attend are like from California, Argentina, India.
India.
Saswata is from India, right? And one other, and from the UK. So and we're here in the Czech Republic. So it's like usually a very international call of people from different time zones and from different cultures and languages, and we all just talk about video games. So it's that could be something.
That's actually really cool. Which actually, I'm curious because you guys make a lot of videos on a wide variety of topics, and we do that too. But we always have our games that we play. Like I know me and Jay, we were playing Battlefield 5 for a couple nights, right?
Yeah.
And we were having a lot of fun with it. And we kind of gravitate towards like games every other week or whatever. What type of games do you guys like to play, or do you often play anything like that? Not for reviews or
for fun.
Video.
Well, we are actually more of a solo players. We sometimes try some of the like online multiplayer games, but we don't stick to it as much. We like more like we just like to play our games more alone or couch co-op. So we like really these story-based games, and we actually played games outside of what we review because when we review Epic Game Store games, we don't choose it. They choose it for us. So we like to play our games. So we actually do play our games, and we're actually now this year newly trying to use the games that we spend 60 hours on, that we are really passionate about, rather than the game from Epic that we spend in like 5 hours on. We're trying to use it now, so we're thinking of new concept of videos, but we know that there's too many reviews, and since the games we play are older, we're trying of like a new type of videos now.
You know, I was hesitant about that though. Mikhail suggested that we're playing like some games just for our own during our free time, that we should find a way to use that for the channel, and I was hesitant, thinking, well, like I would like some part of this like enjoyment of video games to just be enjoying video games. They say don't make your passion your job, because then your passion will become work. Do you guys find that also? Do you feel the temptation that everything you play should produce content for the channel, but you like want to keep something kind of private for yourself in the video game milieu?
That happens sometimes, but I find that when we're trying out all these games for our lists, sometimes I'll just play a game that I find for a couple hours because I find it really fun. So sometimes it can feel like work if it's a game that's like not my genre, but it is an actual good game. But most of the time we have a lot of fun making the videos.
Yeah, I actually relate with what you said a lot, because I kind of feel the same way. There's some games that I want to keep to myself. And
Warzone.
Well, that sounds selfish, because technically I could make content on it, and I could make a video out of it, but I kind of want it. Like, sometimes when we stream games, some single player games I don't really like to stream, because I feel like it takes away from me being alone and enjoying the experience. You know?
Yeah, like
God of War.
Yeah, the other day, or no, a couple weeks ago, God of War, the 2018 PlayStation one, went to PC, and I ended up getting it. I had it pre-ordered for like months, but I played it on stream, like the beginning of it, and people in the what is it? The comments were saying in the chat, like, oh, you should turn this into like a playthrough, and I'm just like, maybe, but I feel like these types of games are meant to be for, I mean, unless you're like one of those big YouTubers, like 10 million subscribers, I doubt they don't even play games by themselves, like separate. But for us, there's always that the single player games that we want to keep to ourselves, or even the multiplayer games. Like I know you play Warzone a lot.
Yeah.
It's mainly that way with story games, though.
Yes.
Story games in particular. Like there are other games that I really enjoy, like Terraria and Noita, which I've made videos on, and I really like making those videos. But when it's story, I like to sit down and actually kind of enjoy it myself, like a movie almost.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In
I
some-
think.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
I think it's when we know it between us, because once you made a video and while playing a game, it's a bit different, because somebody who listen to us now maybe never made a video while playing, and it's a bit different because when you're playing a game to make a video, your mind is a little bit different. You don't want to stop anywhere. You want to make it more engaging. So you want to do always something or say something. But when you play your game solo, only on your own, it's your choice how to do it. You don't have to do it entertaining. You do it entertaining for yourself. So it's a lot different. Yeah.
I think that's it for me. And what you said, it makes a lot of sense that it's about the story games and the single player games. I mean, the enjoyment of those games is in like escapism and immersion. And if I'm constantly thinking about the person who's watching me do this, that just immediately and constantly breaks immersion, because I'm just thinking about this invisible person, or invisible hundreds of people standing behind me watching every move that I make, and I can't just enjoy playing like that. I know maybe the big YouTubers are used to it and they can, and it's part of the experience, but yeah, I think it's in any hobby or any passion, I think it's important to keep something like to yourself and not try to put everything into it. So I don't think it's selfish.
I think calling it selfish is actually correct, and I think it's good way
A
to
good
be
selfish.
Good selfish.
Yeah. That is true. But
Yeah, I
you can
definitely
also,
agree with that.
What is it? You can also get spoiled by the chatters too. If you're playing a story game, they could just straight up say what is going to happen and
I had
spoil
that
it for
issue.
you. It's not good.
One time, literally the modders were this one guy, and he's been in our channel for a long time. It was Furious, and he's active in our Discord and stuff. But I was playing a game. It was Bendy and the Ink Machine, and he kept coming in and trying to say what happens at the end, and so the modders kept banning his account, and he would come back with another account. I think he came back with 10 in total, or it was
accounts.
alt accounts, and he kept trying to spoil it. And I was like, you're ruining the experience for me, and you're ruining the experience for the people watching. But, some games like that one, and I recently played Poppy Playtime, which is like a 30-minute game, single-player game, on stream. But I actually enjoyed playing that on stream more than I feel like I would have alone. So there are some games that I actually feel are really entertaining, kind of to have those people around you and react with. But I agree with everything else, is that sometimes you want that selfish game where you can just kind of immerse yourself alone.
Of course. Yep.
Yeah. And I think actually I do want to say, I know Caleb, you mentioned this, and thank you for that. Rate the podcast, come into the Discord server, talk about the podcast, talk about the games that you like to play, suggestions of what we should do topics on, because we are doing more topics now, and sometimes we are stretching to find a good topic to talk about on the podcast. Follow Should You Play It on or subscribe to Should You Play It on YouTube. And I think we should be able to go into our first topic point, which this is something that I personally think about quite a bit, and it's something that I interact with a lot, which is Battle Royale games, because I am an avid Warzone player. I'm very competitive, super competitive in that game. And that's a Battle Royale, and it's obviously free, but something that kind of surprised a lot of people is that when PUBG was kind of the main Battle Royale out there, there was Fortnite that came in and kind of overtook that spotlight, and it was making millions and millions of dollars. And then, there's
Billions.
obviously Apex. Yeah, billions. And then there's Warzone, which I think Warzone makes like $4 to $5 million a day or something crazy like that. So you see
something
these
like we do on our channel.
Almost
almost.
like on our YouTube channels, right?
Maybe both channels together.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's kind of weird because this happened in the last 4 years, maybe.
2017
and 2018 is when Fortnite came
the
out.
big battle royale bump.
And so I think
was there.
that has changed gaming for really forever, because so there's so many people playing these free battle royale games, and they're earning a lot of money, more than solo developed single player games that people put hours and hours, not hours, years and years of work into. So I kind of want to discuss that and like, what are your guys' thoughts on battle royales and how they've changed with all this earning and stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, first thing we should actually say that as you talked about Fortnite being so big, thanks to being so big, it actually made our channel possible, because since Fortnite made so much money, the Epic Games Store as a company was able to and is able to giving us free games, and without Fortnite, our channel wouldn't be about Epic Games actually.
It's ironic that we don't play Fortnite at all.
We don't like it.
I think we've each played like
don't like
once.
it either.
No.
Yeah.
We don't like it either.
No, I cannot get in. I mean, to be honest, I can't get in. I've tried all of the big battle royale games. I can't get into it. I think mostly it's because I come in years later when people are actually good and I suck, and there's no chance to like actually get good, as they say, or I don't have the patience for it. But yeah, I mean, that my first reaction is exactly what Mikhail said. Is my first reaction to Fortnite is it made billions of dollars for this tiny little games company that then was able to try to compete with Steam, has been giving away hundreds of free like single player games for people to keep, and spending hundreds of millions of dollars just to get people onto its store. And they're losing hundreds of millions of dollars every year on the Epic Games Store. We know this, like it's all in public documents, and it's all because Fortnite just prints money. So I know that's not the kind of effect on like the gaming like community that you're talking about, but the knock-on effects of that amount of money coming into a very small number of games creates these ripple effects in the industry that just shake up everything. This could like cement the Epic Games Store as the primary competitor to Steam, which then pushes Steam to change its policies, which creates new consolidation in the gaming industry. I think you're right that there are massive changes coming in the gaming industry, and this huge focus and interest on these multiplayer experiences is something really new that it's never going to be the same.
What is it like? I'm trying to think. There was Apex Legends. You probably heard of Apex Legends. That was big battle royale for me because I was a huge fan of Titanfall. And I actually pre-downloaded that game. It was 2018, I think.
For Apex?
For 2018 or 2019, yeah.
Yeah.
But I went into Apex. I got really good at it in the first like month or two. I stopped playing for like, let's say 2 years. I went to revisit it, and I couldn't keep up with anything. Because like what you said before, is people get way too good at the game. You gotta hit the game when it first comes out to actually enjoy it. Unless you're competitive.
And stick with it and never leave. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's not accidental. I think that's a really important thing, is that these companies are trying to create the game that players will never be able to leave, whether they want to or not. They feel like if they leave for these games should keep evolving. That's why Fortnite is so successful. It doesn't stay the same. But then it means if you stop playing for 3 months and try to come back, that you're screwed. Mm-hmm. And that's not by accident. They want to hook people into it so that they can't ever leave and go to something else. And I wonder what you think about that. And also, like, now that those are so successful, it's creating something that I call the Game of Thrones effect. that one thing is successful, and then everyone else wants to reproduce that success by making like crappy clones of it.
Yeah.
And that's annoying. Yeah. I'm sure you guys have examples of that.
Well, it's interesting actually on the Fortnite that it keeps changing, and a lot of people say, I hate the changes, but if they wouldn't make any changes, it would probably die a lot sooner. So even though they make changes and people don't like it, they cannot do anything else because it would die without changes.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, you said something about crappy clones of games, but what if it's like the opposite? So recently there's a game that came out called Super People.
Yeah.
And it's basically a copy of PUBG.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, it's better than PUBG.
I like it. Okay.
So it's weird.
Okay, I have over 400 hours in PUBG, and that was from obviously in 2017. We played that game religiously, and that was our first Battle Royale experience. And you know, I took a break from Battle Royales for about 2 years or so until I got into Warzone, because nothing ever gave me that feeling like PUBG did, and didn't give me that adrenaline rush like PUBG did. And it's funny that you bring that up because, you know, Chug says Super People came out, and that's basically a clone of PUBG. It's got the same movement, it's got the same gunplay, but they evolved it and added where you can have powers and all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Super People better than PUBG because it's more evolved than PUBG, and it kind of revitalized that feeling in me.
Yeah, PUBG actually tried to go the Fortnite model with their game, which is the opposite of what their player base wanted.
Yeah.
And that, in turn, brought down their player base by a lot, and they just dispersed into other titles like Warzone and maybe even Super People now. I don't know how big that is.
It's decently big. It's lost a lot of steam, I think mostly because there's a lot of other games like Lost Ark coming out, and the streaming, I don't know. I mean, the streaming space is so competitive. I don't know how it is with actual numbers on Steam, but it's, you know, Jay, when you said that they went the Fortnite route, a lot of what we didn't like, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but what we didn't like about the Fortnite is it was very like
Mobile game.
It was very mobile game. It was very kiddish. It was very like immature almost. And we were into PUBG, which was a little more realistic,
More mature.
But then PUBG started adding these like dances in, and they try to make it like kid friendly, and it was just one of those uncanny things where you see like this really like military strategy game, and then they add all this like these elements from another game that just doesn't mesh well, and that's part of why we left the game.
I mean, it sounds like we have no expertise in front of you three to talk about battle royale games or the free to play games, but like because I mean, me personally, I bounce off of battle royale games, honestly. But talking about the impact of free games in the gaming industry, like our side of that coin is the free to keep games, which I think it's ironic that like the biggest free to play game ever, like Fortnite, actually morphed into this campaign by the Epic Games Store to give away, you know, hundreds of games just to get people onto their game store. And like this is the other side of how free games, like the ability to play games for no money, I think is really interesting because it cuts both ways, you know. And Caleb, you started by saying that you've thought a lot about this, and I've thought a lot about this problem, probably like much more than an adult man with a job and a family should spend thinking about this kind of thing. But like how there's so many good things and so many negative things about this new world where you can play incredible games and be like overwhelmingly entertained constantly for zero money, because the accessibility on one side and the possibility for people to play games that they never would have been able to before is fantastic and great. On the other hand, what is it doing to indie developers? What is it doing to the industry? And we started by talking about how it seems like all of our YouTube comments are just people who want everything for free now. Like there's a reason for that. The younger generation has grown up expecting that they should be able to get everything and get access to everything for free. So that's been something very interesting for us, because like now whenever we try to even review a game that isn't free, half the comments are, so is it free? Is it free? And it's great that we can get all of this for free, but what's the long-term effect going to be on the gaming industry? It's a bit worrying sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this morning I was actually considering, like back before this all started, the way that Call of Duties would have a season pass where you get all the DLCs for a separate fee. But they've since stopped doing that, and now they try to do the battle pass methods, and lots of other ways of making money besides paid DLC. But I actually personally like the paid DLC route, but if you think about it, it's actually better in the long run that it's not paid, because some people don't want to pay for that DLC, yet they actually make more money from the battle pass than the DLCs, so they can still provide content for free to the people who already bought the game.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird now that we're kind of discussing how like Fortnite has affected you guys directly, which is kind of interesting because I never thought of that. But also how you say when people come to our comments, because I think it's a probably similar situation that you guys have. You have a lot of younger age group people coming in because free, they don't have money. Yeah. But I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so it's different because I think the way we grew up and is that we would ask our parents for money to buy a game, or we would get our allowance money or something and buy. Like I remember we used to play Club Penguin, and we would get all our allowance money and get those little Club Penguin cards or whatever, or Robux from Roblox. And so it's so different now to where the younger generation, like you said, expects free games, and they expect free content, like with Call of Duty and Fortnite gives free season passes. And I actually do kind of miss the old days where you would scrounge up money and buy the DLC pack if you wanted those maps. And although it did split the player base quite a bit, because a lot of people wouldn't have those DLC, it really just didn't make any sense.
You felt special when you had that extra stuff.
Yeah, it was rewarding. And I remember that like back in Black Ops 2 and 3 when I would buy the packs to get the zombie maps and stuff like that. But now everything's free, and I think that's probably better to keep the community of a game more cohesive. But thinking about it now, everything is just so different. Everything is just so changed now, and like you said, the indie games, like what is this doing to indie game developers? They can't make a free game. They don't have the funds for that.
Actually, I have to apologize. This will be the first time I might slightly disagree with you, because I think it's the same, and I saw it as one generation younger than me, that a kid who plays Fortnite and all his buddies played Fortnite as well. He's saving his money to buy this costume or open this chest in the Fortnite, like we used to collect these cards game or buy games. So he's actually spending money on that, and he's asking his parents to buy it, and without it he's just playing the games like anybody else. But when he's got really something. So I think it only turns into something else a bit.
It's evolved. I can see that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's like what Jay said. When you have that DLC, like back when we used to play games, we had that DLC, so we felt special.
Now it's a skin.
Yeah, now it's a skin where they feel special, and
it's evolved, I guess.
Yeah, if someone else doesn't have the skin, he can envy the one that he's got it. So
and it's almost kind of like, that you point that out, and I agree, it has evolved, but it's almost a little worrying because the weight of which we value things is just so different, because now it's a cosmetic when it used to be maps, DLC guns, content, and now it's a skin. So I think their gauging of what is like valuable. I mean, in retrospect, I guess it's all video games. It's all, it's not like.
But that's that's maybe a little bit fault of the game, because Fortnite doesn't allow you to buy land or anything else in the game, just skin. So maybe that's not exactly the fault of the players.
I mean, it's something. It might be kind of the best of both worlds, is that it is as accessible as possible, and so people who have no money. I mean, we have a lot of viewers from low-income countries on our channel. Our biggest viewer base is in India, and we know that a lot of our viewers, because whenever we review a game, even as like $2, they'll say, well, I can't get that. Like all I can do is download the free games or play free-to-play games. And so free-to-play games or free-to-claim games are 100% accessible to everyone who has the equipment to play them, regardless of whether they have the funds. But then anyone who has available like disposable funds to spend more on, of course, the company is happy to take it. So I think you're right that it comes out the same. Now, we could also ask if it's beneficial that games are motivating children to save their money to spend on a video game or a skin. But that's probably a topic for another time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
We used to do that too, though.
Yeah, every I think it's kind
Absolutely.
of like a learning process. Every kid kind of just spends on whatever looks best to them.
You buy Robux so you can buy Roblox gear, or
Yeah.
Club Penguin memberships to buy little costumes or igloo stuff.
Or you
Yeah.
had what was the Club Penguin membership where you'd have like
You can
can
get
have a
clothes.
pet.
Get more pets
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah, and you guys said, or Caleb, you said that the low income, you have a lot of viewers from low income countries, and we get our fair share of that too, because obviously free games. But I'm kind of looking at it from a two-sided coin now, where I'm seeing we come from a place, and I'm not sure, but I'd expect you guys come from a place too, where even though we may have had to save our money, we were able to get games that we wanted to play, and these people from other countries aren't. So, I'm not sure it's necessarily a bad thing that more games are becoming free, because it's being more accessible to people that previously would have never even imagined been able to play that.
Yeah. It's even more than not having money. I mean, the funny thing is we get a lot of comments from people, especially everyone wanting GTA 5 to be free, or us to give them GTA 5 again, because it was free from the Epic Game Store in 2020. And ever since then, like, that has been the most popular topic, is when will GTA 5 be free again? And we tell them, like, look, it's $3. If you have a computer that can play GTA 5, you can buy GTA 5. And especially like Indian viewers and in some countries in Africa, they tell us that the only way to buy a game would be to have a credit card or a PayPal account, and in their countries they don't have access to that. So even like some adults with jobs like struggle to use these payment systems. But if it's free, and like on the Epic Game Store you just have to click claim, or PUBG now is free everywhere, you just click download, then suddenly it's accessible. And I think that's something that from developed countries we don't really appreciate very much, of how the walls of gaming just in the last 2 or 3 years are coming crashing down and allowing tens of millions more people access to these games that we take for granted. And that is probably the number one positive about this change for me. We'll talk about the negatives a little bit later, but that's something that I think not a lot of people talk about, and something that I don't think Epic Games thinks about, because their motivation is just to get more Epic Games accounts. They just want to have enough activity to feel like they're a competitor to Steam. But the byproduct of that is that tens of millions of people in less developed countries are getting to have these experiences that we would just take for granted, of being able to slap down $3 and do it. So that's an incredible thing that I hope continues.
Some companies are still stuck in the past with this, though, like EA in particular, where they try to squeeze every last cent that they can from the gamers. And that's partially why people are turning on them now and just completely boycotting their games, or just even review bombing in like Battlefield 2142's case. Is it
2042?
2042, yeah.
Yeah, that got massively review bombed. And a lot of these companies are actually taking notice now that that's not going to be tolerated, where you just try to take every dollar that these people have. Because, like you said, low-income countries, they can't afford stuff like that. So, of course, they're just going to go to the free games. And if they do end up buying one of the new EA games, they're not going to be able to pay for all the extra stuff that comes along with it. Loot boxes and all that stuff.
I think you're totally right. It needs to be really a choice, not a necessity to buy something in the game, and not be like pay to win or even open in new maps. Everything should be like, when it's free to play game, it should be free to play all the maps. And I know that you meant some like Star Wars Battlefront 2 or NBA 2K21 had a similar problem, that in-game content was actually locked. And yeah.
So what do you guys think about? Sorry,
go ahead.
You can go.
No, Chug, go ahead.
No, I was gonna go into a new topic, but you could finish what you were about to say.
Well, just that. I mean, we know it, but it's worth saying that these companies have to make money. Like from the big AAA companies that put $200 million into making their game, all the way down to the indies that need $100,000 to be able to finish their game. It has to make money, or they'll stop doing it. So it's really a difficult thing, of that balance between being profitable and having a sustainable business model, but not stepping over the line of appearing greedy, whatever, because that's a moving line also. It's a tricky one. I think we can agree that EA has stepped over that line on multiple occasions, but I'm slightly sympathetic that it's a difficult line to cross, and the business executives are thinking, well, it's a business. It's their job to make as much money as possible. That's their only job.
Caleb, actually, EA, I think, crossed the border when they let you buy the game and then still let you pay in that game. So
yeah,
that was just too much.
You should choose.
Yeah.
You should choose.
Actually,
either you buy the game or you buy the content. Yeah.
Yeah.
The next topic that we're talking about actually has to do with that.
Ah.
So basically, you know how there's a paid game, and then maybe later on in the future, a company's not making enough money with that, or it's just not as successful as they want the game to be, so they make it go free to play, kind of like PUBG, Destiny, which I have a lot to say about Destiny 2. I don't want to get into that now because I don't want to go on a rant, but Battlefield 2042, they are talking about making some aspect of it free to play because the game just didn't do well.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about paid games that are going free, even if the people paid for it and they don't get anything back from it? Kind of like what happened with Destiny 2.
Yeah, I actually think there's two options for the game developers. If like the paid game is slowly dying, they have basically two options. One you already mentioned, to make it free to play, to make it more interesting so more people play it and perhaps buy something in the game. But there's a second option that is connected to our channel. Epic Game Store can buy the game and they actually pay for all the downloads. It doesn't matter how many people are going to claim it, Epic Game Store will give them enough money so they don't have to care about it.
I sorry to flip the topic a little bit again, but yeah, we're not very experienced with the free to play games. So it's a similar thing of the free to play model will only work if your game is multiplayer. That's the only way it makes sense. That's the only way you can really monetize it, because it's very difficult to monetize a single player game. No one's buying cosmetics for a single player game, with a very few exceptions. But it's a completely different thing. But we're now seeing a lot of, well, not only Epic. Epic kind of pioneered this, that people don't just like steal the game from the developer and give it away to millions of people. The developer, takes a check from Epic.
Yeah. A big check.
Often a big check. What it was for Civilization 6, it was something like $26 million that they gave.
So I wanted to say that developers actually now have multiple choices. They can either turn to a free-to-play model, or they can contact Epic Game Store, or they contact them, and they don't have to go free to play. It can be still paid, because when they promote it this way, a lot of people will get it. And we actually proved that once the game is free on Epic Game Store, there's a lot more attention. So more people buy it, or more people buy the second one.
There are so many games that I mean, there's two different types of examples of what can happen then. Is that, like the AAA games that go free, and we've had quite a few, but GTA 5 again is the big example. That was published, in 2013?
Yeah.
And in 2020, it went free on the Epic Game Store for 1 week, and it broke the internet. And the week after it was free, like in 2020, GTA 5 sold more copies that year than it had in any year since the year it was published.
Wow.
So the act of going free actually like just completely built up the hype again for this game. And we see it on our channel. Like now, since it was free once, that's all anyone wants. Like it's incredible. And many people on our channel, when there's a sale and it's available for $5, they say, okay, I finally broke down and bought it because everyone's talking about it again. So that can be the effect for AAA games. For indie games that just did not have the marketing, didn't have the reception when it was first released, and they've sold almost nothing, at least it gets millions of people downloading the game and being interested in trying it, which then can, if it's successful, can either build up hype to get people to buy it later or get people interested in the sequel, or at least give a check that kind of an influx of cash that helps that developer finish their next game. So there is still this moral question of, since these games are just free for a week, and now we're seeing a lot of games that are for sale on the Epic Game Store, then suddenly be free for a week to anyone who wants to claim them. And there is this moral question of, people who paid for it 1 week before, and now everyone in the world is getting it for free. Is that fair to the customers? I think in that sense, for everyone involved, there aren't too many other options except to just let the game die. And I think that's fair. But then the question is, are customers going to be more wary about spending money on games, even if they can afford it, because they're just waiting for it to be free? Like, what do you guys think that there's more of a feeling of people aren't going to buy a game because they think that in the future it could be free?
We haven't seen that on our channel, personally. I know you guys get it because that's what you do, is you talk about games like that. But I've never actually seen an instance where someone waits for a big game to go free.
No.
Unless they release some sort of trailer
Or a rumor.
or a rumor to let them know that it is.
Well, we don't get that, but we've all had experiences, I think all of us, with, that type of, moral thing going on where you're kind of questioning whether that was a good decision or not. Like, I know Chug bought Destiny 2, and
I paid a lot of money. I think, what was it? I paid $60 for the base game. I paid $30 for the first season pass. I paid another $30 for, I think, the Forsaken DLC, and I paid another $30 for another DLC. So that was like,
that adds up.
That's $150, and then the game goes free to play.
when was that? Like a year later?
A year or two later or something. And then it turned out that they started deleting previous campaigns in the game, weirdly enough.
That you had already paid for.
That I paid for. So
Yeah.
I couldn't play the content I paid for, and then they went free to play, and it was a huge mess. It was a huge
I think
mess.
that's like the worst case. That's the worst way to go about it, because you paid $150 or so on a game and extra campaigns, and then it goes free to play, and now all of a sudden they feel that they can just delete some of the older campaigns. Like, I get it that the game size probably was getting really big.
Mm-hmm. Well, they deleted it so they can make room for more paid DLCs.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I don't
that's
know.
beyond the line of just being kind of overly greedy. That sounds illegal to me, that you
Yeah.
paid for something and then
Yeah.
they're just like, no, that's not yours anymore. We're taking it back. Like,
Exactly.
that's clearly not okay.
Yeah. And then there's other cases like PUBG. I mean, we all paid $30 for PUBG 4 years ago.
2018 or so?
Yeah. And I could care less that it went free now, because
We're not really big into it.
I'm
and
not,
we
but-
got a
What we
lot of
talked
hours.
about for a long time, that PUBG would really benefit from going free to play.
we wanted it to go to free to play.
Yeah.
But I would not have been bothered because it's been so long. And even if I was actively playing it, it's kind of like that $30 is long gone, and I don't really care about it.
And it brings more players in,
Yeah.
so it actually like livens the game up.
But I think the real question is, you know, like there are certain cases like with Destiny where that's obviously morally wrong. I mean, we can all agree on that. And then there's cases with like PUBG where it's like that's okay because it's been so long since it first came out, and it's kind of like the better move to go in that direction. But if these games go free to play, should they offer their existing paying base something in return for it going free? Like, what do you guys think about that? Because I think that would be a kind of like a good remedy, like especially for the Epic Games one where it's on sale and then it goes free the next week. But rather, why don't you give the people that paid for it kind of what they paid for in a way, or refund the amount that they? Well, I guess that wouldn't really work.
Reimburse them somehow through the game,
like in content. Something like that. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think definitely it should be more fair. I can see how they can easily do it. Like if I give an example, you are familiar with Hitman series. So there's a Hitman and there's the Gold Edition or some DLCs, new maps. If it goes to free-to-play model and everybody who paid the standard version, they could get upgraded to open all the maps, and free-to-play model would have just the basic map. So they could easily do it. And maybe some smaller games, I can't think of any game that did it well to actually went to free-to-play and give something really valuable to people who spend so much time in their game. But I'm pretty sure there's some games like that, but probably smaller.
Well, what do you... So, for... You said the Hitman games, right? I'm really big into the Hitman games. And what if somebody has bought everything that has to do with that? So, like, what if somebody owns everything in the game and then it goes totally free to play? What would that person get? What would you think that person would get?
Well, that's easy. You would either get possibility to get Hitman 2 or 1, or the future one for like 50% off or something. I mean, they could easily do it like that, but nobody does it. So
I mean, no one even tries to do it, which makes me think that, I mean, especially the big businesses, they must be looking at this in terms of how it could affect their bottom line. And they must have some reason to think that this situation is not preventing people from buying games. It's not making people more hesitant to buy games in the fear that they will go free. And it's a bit squishy because it's a question of time. Like you guys were talking about PUBG. You put the money into it, but you got your money's worth out of it before it went free. So you decided that you wanted to get in the first year that it was published. You had the money available, you did it, you got your money's worth out of it. And since it's so many years later that it goes free, that doesn't offend your sensibilities at all. Maybe
that's like you go to the cinema, you pay for the movie, and in 2 years it's in the TV for free. Yeah. So that's fine.
I think it's very much a question of time and how much the player who paid for it, how much they get out of it. I mean, we never see people complaining about like, oh, I bought that game 3 years ago and now it's free. Damn you, Epic Games. But if it was 1 month before and they bought a big game and then suddenly it's free, then they're annoyed. So, but this is a really hard thing to account for, because if it's just a question of how much time has passed since you paid for it, and that determines your sense of unfairness, it's very difficult then to have a fair system to kind of assuage that sense of unfairness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, there's actually on Epic Games Store, if you're going to buy something and then it's for free, there's something called refund, but it is very limited. It's like you should not pay it longer than 2 hours. And if you're buying some game, you probably play it more than 2 hours.
That's the same way on Steam too. So
yeah.
I mean, and unlike what you guys were saying, we do see people, especially like low-income players, who are saying, "Oh, I would really like to buy this. I've saved up, enough money to buy this AAA game or something, but I think it's going to be free in the next big Epic giveaway. So I'm going to wait and I'm not going to buy it now." And that worries me, because from what everything that we're talking about here, that's actually pretty logical. But what does that do to the gaming economy and like the business model when people are holding their cash, just waiting for something, and especially low-income players who could inject some money into the business, they can wait for years, and at this rate, like eventually it probably is going to be free. So I wonder if in the long term this is kind of reducing the amount of money that's spent, and on top of that, as I said at the top, like Epic Games has now given away 231 free-to-keep games. Everything from GTA 5 to Anodyne 2, like the best and the worst. And anyone who's been following like our channel for the last few years now has a couple of hundred games in their backlog that no one has time to... It is impossible to have played and completed all of those games, even though most of them are worth, at least a few hours, if not dozens of hours. What does it do to people's willingness to spend money on new games when everyone suddenly has a backlog of at least 200 free games? Yeah. And I don't know how to study that or find an answer, but like... and it's hard for us here to answer that question because we all have some disposable income. If we really want one specific game, we're ready to put down some money for it, even if we have 200 games that we haven't played. That is the luxury of our existence. Mm-hmm. But that's not so common. So I wonder, when you guys are going to buy a new game, do you ever have that voice in the back of your head thinking, well, I do have a backlog of like 200 games. Should I really spend money on this? Or do you just think, okay, this is new and cool and I want it now, and you jump on it?
It really depends on what it is. If it's a series that we all really love, like especially if it's a multiplayer game that multiple of us are planning on getting, then it will be a question, like with the most recent Call of Duty. Like we were holding off, but then friends got it, and so we just kind of gave in and bought it. But if it's a single player game, I'm going to be a lot more likely to think, oh, I have these other single-player games I got to beat first. So when it comes to multiplayer, I'm a lot less hesitant to buy it if I can have experiences with friends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Chug has like...
I am an avid game collector, you could say, on digital game collector.
How many Steam games do you have?
I think I have like 630 something.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's probably more than us
together. Yeah,
I think I have about over 200.
I have about 200.
So
I shared my library with both of them, so they also have access to those games too. So I'm not just using it for myself, But you guys really don't play that many games as I do, though. But
I don't know if I get that problem though.
I don't really have like what you were saying. That you think in the back of your head that you have a backlog of these games. I mean, I obviously have a big backlog of games, but a lot of them I've beaten.
But you also, you're the type, you like, when you want a game, you buy it, you pre-order it.
Yes. I do like new games, but
but you play them all the way through multiple times in some cases,
depending on if I like it or not.
Yeah, for me it's different because I don't always play them through. Like for instance, like Red Dead 2, I've started that I started it. I have like 15 hours in it or so, maybe 10. And I haven't beaten it, and I left it a long time ago, like a year ago or something.
Yeah, and he always makes jokes about how terrible the game is, but it's not.
I always make jokes because I never play it and I never finish it, but eventually I'll finish it and we'll do a podcast on it. But for me, it's like if I'm going to spend money, I'm going to look and see what I have, and like it's either like the multiplayer thing with the Call of Duty, I'll get it because I'm going to play with friends. But if it's a single player game, either we're going to be doing a podcast on it, or I don't know, maybe like Uncharted 4 I'm really looking forward to get, and I'm not going to look at my backlog to get that because I want to play that. Mm-hmm. So I think it just depends on like how much I want to play the game, because if it's just a new single player game that looks interesting, most likely I'm going to end up not buying it.
Well, also, most of the games, like we all do the claiming free games in Epic. We pretty much like go on Epic every once in a while and look at what they are. We claim them even though that we're not going to touch them. Just to have them, just in case for future proofing. But in the long run, most of the games that are free, we just have better alternatives to play. But obviously, you said there's the low income places that don't have the money and they don't have the backlog, so they can add those free games. And so I think there's two sides of the spectrum, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I mean, all the games that you listed, I think this speaks to the next topic of how this new business model in the gaming industry affects developers, but especially small indie developers. Because all the games that you listed that, even if you have 600 games in your backlog, you're still going to be ready to spend on a big multiplayer game or a really unique single player game. And that again kind of starts to funnel all the money towards, the big producers, the blockbusters, the either the big battle royales or the huge AAA games from the studios that we can all name. And like I see that with the Epic Games Store also, is that it's what they give away is a lot of indie games, which on one side it's great that they do have that avenue, like what Mikhail was talking about, is if their game was not so successful, Epic will cut them a check, and we've seen some data, depending on the game, it's between $25,000 to $100,000 to $200,000 to give away their game to an unlimited number of people. And for an indie studio of 2 or 3 people, or a student or something that had a game that didn't sell very well, that revolutionizes their possibilities of developing their next game, and that's great. But when everyone has these huge backlogs, and now because of increased accessibility, everyone can have a backlog of 200 games now. If you're listening and you don't have a backlog of 200 games, subscribe to our channel, and in 1 year you will. Then the problem is, yes, everyone might still be spending or wanting to spend on the big AAA experiences, but I feel like there will be less and less money available for these indie games, because there's kind of an expectation that a game that lasts 4 or 5 hours should be free anyway, because I have these 200 similar games that I got for free. And maybe the only avenue for indie developers going forward will be to develop a game and then hope that Game Pass or Epic or PS Plus wants to cut them a one-time check to be able to. So that means that the indie games won't disappear, but for them especially, it is a radically different business model.
Well, we're seeing indie games blow up now, like specifically Among Us. I mean, that game was a really small studio, and I don't even know how many millions of players they got over time.
Yeah.
But they probably made a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. And
like, was it free on Steam, or was it free only on mobile?
No,
Epic.
it was only
on Epic.
Oh, it was free on
Epic.
On Epic, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it's almost like two ecosystems here, because on Steam has a very avid community for indie games like Inscription and let's see what
Insound Mind,
other games like that are super indie. People flock to those on Steam because Steam has a way of promoting them. But yet there's a flip side where there's Epic, and a lot of their games are just free out of the box, or
they
free
promote a lot of
from-
the AAA stuff usually.
Yeah, and for Steam, there may be an expiration date on that, on how long people are going to be flocking to these indie games, because I don't see any evidence of those ever going away on Steam, at least. And then on Epic it's different, and I think one issue that the Epic model kind of creates is that the power isn't given to the people anymore, right? Because now Epic can just give them a check, and now that big corporation has the power over whether an indie game will do a certain thing or put it there on free.
Well, not just the indie games. There's the you guys probably seen this too, but on Epic there's the Epic exclusives, like the big AAA studios like Hitman 3. Hitman 3 was a big Epic exclusive for a year, and it finally came out last month, I think, on Steam. But it actually did worse on Steam, just because everybody transferred over all their stuff to Epic's side of everything, and the first 2 Hitmen were on Steam, and so it made like this barrier between them, where people weren't a huge fan of it going to Steam. So, I guess,
What?
like the year exclusive stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how the exclusive stuff. I mean, I guess that could affect the way I see it is that Steam has a way of the people directly giving feedback, whether with their money or with reviews on the developers. But if Epic continues to become bigger and bigger and kind of gets more properties, then the people have no say, right? Because it used to be that if the game is garbage, people aren't going to buy it, or people are going to say this game's garbage.
There's no review system on
right,
Epic
but
either.
now in Epic, if a game goes out and they give it out for free, not only do they get a check, but they don't get any feedback because, like you said, there's a backlog. I don't have to play that game. I just have it in my library. The developers may not care because they got their check and they're already happy and making their next game. You know,
it is monetizing, especially the smaller games, in a completely different way, because Epic Games is ready to cut a check. I mean, they have billions of dollars floating around, literally, and they just want more people to sign up for accounts on the Epic Games Store and to have more activity on the Epic Games Store that will hopefully become customers. I mean, that's the goal, but that's not even necessary. They just want to show their investors that they can compete with Steam by numbers of monthly active users and all of that. So a lot of these indie games, you're right, are just kind of a content factory. Say, well, we give this out, millions of people come to claim it. We don't know how many of them actually play it, but it doesn't matter. If they come and make an Epic Games account or visit the store to claim this game, maybe no one actually plays it, but if 2 million people come to claim it and come to the Epic Games Store, they're going to count that as a marketing success. So it turns these indie games into like just content fodder.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
and I mean, in most cases, I think that's not the case. It gives them more exposure. It gives the indie developer some cash to develop their next game with. So it's not as dark as the worst case scenario. But essentially, they don't publish their numbers of how many people actually play the games that are claimed.
That's true.
Now, since you guys play every game that they release for free, how often do you come across one that's actually bad? Like actually broken or just doesn't work properly?
About 50%, I would say. Well, it's a good question, and since we have quite a different taste, it's very often that happens that one of us says no, other one says I love it. So it really depends.
Not I love it, but I mean our reviews are very black and white. We just at the end of each review we say, okay, do we think that this is worth your time?
Yeah.
Because you can get it for free, you should claim it, but there are so many free games. Is this worth your gaming time? And as Mikhail said, I think more often than not, we actually are divided and we both explain our perspective we're very different types of gamers, in fact. And so we're not trying to say the truth. We're just trying to give two opinions of people who have played the game. So bad is a very difficult thing to define. Definitely, I'm actually more negative.
I think lately
I think it's
Might
the
be more
winter. It's the dark Central European winter that's getting to me. I mean, I'm from California and I'm living in Prague now, so the winters are long and dark.
Or it's the fact that we're getting a lot of horror games and pixelated platformers on Epic.
Yeah.
And Caleb, I hate those. And I'm not a fan, but I'm more likely to say yes to some of them.
I think about 50% of the time I say no, that I don't think this is worth your time. And part of that is because we have such a huge backlog and we've gotten dozens of AAA games that I'm also balancing it against that and saying, well, look, guys, you should have these other games in your library. No, this one is not worth your time. But we also find a lot of diamonds in the rough.
Yes, that's what I wanted to say.
I thought so, yeah.
Because there's only few, I could say 3 games in 1 year that we would stick to, even though we already finished the review, we would continue playing it. It's very rare, but it happens every year with some games.
And games that we would never expect. My best example is a game called Nuclear Throne.
Yeah.
Which is a bullet hell pixelated roguelite kind of thing. And all of those words that I just said are not my genre at all. Yeah. If I read or watched anything about this game, I would be convinced that I hate it, and I cannot stop playing it. Yeah. It's this simple little bullet hell game that I just keep coming back to over and over, and I never even would have opened it if it wasn't for this channel. So that's the kind of thing that we hope to be able to pass on, and if our loyal viewers watch our review, whether they're interested or not, we'll be able to tell them, hey, this is more than it appears. Like you should check this out. Mikhail has one as well.
Well, I was never into card games, but I got this card game that I played for over a year, and it's a multiplayer one actually as well. So I got to really stick to it, even though I had to play other games. Yeah, but we usually like these smaller games that you can really play like for lots of hours, but it needs only like 5 minutes to play, because of course we can't go and play one game for so many hours, because this is not our full time, this is not your full time, we have jobs and everything, so we tend to really like these smaller games that you can just play for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I know, Jay, I was gonna say, you talk a lot about how games are feeling more mobile.
Yeah. One of you said earlier something about single player games can't be monetized very well, which I slightly disagree with. Because look at all these mobile games, like Candy Crush in particular. That's a single player game that makes tons of money. And that's actually gone into some other games, like even the recent Assassin's Creed games have microtransactions in them now, and they're trying to shoehorn it in wherever they can. So they might not make nearly as much as with multiplayer, but they still can make it with the single player stuff. But anyway, they're trying to take these mobile tactics and put them into these other games, like these games that you paid for in EA's case, or in other cases just any game that gets put out, like Warzone,
like the Battle Pass systems.
This has happened a lot in the free games in the past. And since this whole like free games thing kind of started coming out like 4 years or 5 years ago, is they're very mobile, like even PUBG or Super People, really. There's no microtransactions in it yet, but that's one thing that I kind of have to ignore when I play it, is because it just looks kind of like the HUD looks like a mobile game, and I dislike that. Like, I'm not trying to, if people play mobile games, that's great, play on what you can. But for me, I don't like when things are thrown on the screen and it says, open this loot crate and get your coins for the day.
Yeah.
And it's like, I dislike that. And so I get, and I mean, I haven't played the Assassin's Creed, but it seems like they're kind of, trying to shoehorn it into like single player games now. So it could be the possibility that those are going to be a good source of monetization for these developers.
There is this game theory video a while ago. I don't know if you guys watch Game Theory, but he was talking about how the mobile model of games is actually designed to addict and bring you back constantly, because they have things like energy that you're forced to stop playing, so you don't actually get fatigued with it. So you keep coming back, and every time you come back, you're more excited about it. And they've tried to bring that into a lot of other games. Like you said, click this to open the crate. Like even the Battlefield series, they have that.
I actually dislike that.
What is it? Remember from we used to play this game. It was, what is it? A Call of Duty clone called Modern Combat. We mentioned it in the last podcast, I think. But it was a mobile game, and you can't access it through like PCs and stuff, like through app stores and all sorts of stuff like that. But I mean, we played Modern Combat 4, and they had this campaign, and there was multiplayer. And then they came out with Modern Combat 5, which, if you go to the campaign, I don't know if you remember this, but to play the campaign, there was energy.
Yeah.
You can only play like 3 missions at a time. It wasn't like Candy Crush where it was a level and you can complete it like that. It was an actual campaign mission with story that they locked behind energy. That's just weird.
Yeah. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys see that a lot? Or what are your thoughts on that in terms of the single player games getting that?
Well, talking about the mobile games, I had just an interesting idea that we never talked with Caleb as well. I'm going to share it with you because there's actually a possibility for single players to earn money even with being free. Because you said it's on the mobile. There are ads, and by watching ads, you're getting this energy, or you have to buy the energy. So how come there's no single player or multiplayer game on PC that generate or that you watch ads to get something valuable in the game? because it's happening all the time in mobile games, but nobody ever tried it in the PC, right? Or consoles.
I feel like there were some PC sports games where like between matches you're supposed to like watch some advertisements, but it's not actually like
it's not usual.
It's not usual. I mean,
it could be another source of income for like smaller indie developers if they could give it the game for free but include ads. Of course, we would hate it as gamers, but they can make money out of it.
I mean,
maybe there's a reason.
Well, because it's probably not culturally accepted, but someone's going to try it, and it's probably going to be
it's accepted on mobile. So.
It is accepted on mobile, and I'm going to bring an interesting twist here that all of this is really hard to swallow, and it's really annoying when we realize that the game company that we love is just trying to suck money out of us. At the end of the day, though, it is a business, and if they can't make money, they're going to stop making games. I worry about the impact of this free to play or free to keep games on like small developers. But let's put that aside. Having any games that are free, that are monetized then within the game, then makes them more accessible, especially to like low income gamers, that it means you can start it. And if you don't have the money or you don't want to spend the money that the game is requesting in the game, at least you can still have the experience, you can still be part of it, and it's accessible. The exact same model, here's the twist, is what we use on YouTube, that everyone can watch us for free, and we actually get money from it, not because people pay to see our content, but because they have to watch an ad before the video starts. And it's, I mean, what you were saying exactly, what if, like, that's a very direct comparison of mobile games with ads inside them. That could translate to PC games. And like that feels kind of icky and annoying, but it would increase accessibility for people who have no money for video games. And these microtransactions also, I know that people hate them. I do also. But it is a way of saying people who don't have money can still play it, and people who do have money can still contribute to the company so that they can make more games. I don't know. This is a surprisingly positive moment for me of saying maybe this isn't so bad and maybe this is a better system that we're moving towards. There's other things that I'm negative about, but I don't know. What do you think? Is that like a reasonable way to see this new development in a positive light?
Potentially for indie games. If an indie game wanted to offer that for free and still make money from it. But if a big company did this, they would get boycotted so badly.
Get backlash.
Yeah,
People would leave such bad reviews on Steam, and they would hate on the game every chance they got.
Well, there was even like Battlefield. I mean, obviously there's no microtransactions in it yet, because there is a store. But there's obviously it was pushed out early by EA themselves. But there's like there wouldn't be any ads. If there were ads in that, the game would be it would be destroyed.
Well,
it would, I don't know.
It's that's actually really interesting that you bring that up, because it's true, because it's not culturally accepted in the gaming community. I mean, we would hate that. That would be
it's memed on today.
That would be the worst thing
the
ever.
Ads.
But we're also more privileged in a way that we have funds that we can just kind of spend on stuff like that. So it's weird because we look at it in a way like, oh, please, no, never. Like, I do not want to see ads in games. That'd be the worst thing ever. But if you look at a game like, let's say, it's kind of like Fortnite, right? Where it's free, but there's like skins and stuff. I suppose it wouldn't be the worst thing if they allow an alternate option from paying with your money and just watching ads. But even that just coming out of my mouth, it feels so terrible. But it's a solution.
I mean,
and it's
I hate to break it to you, but it's already started, except that these big companies are secretly double dipping. There are so many games that have like product placement in their games. You know, Death Stranding comes to mind with like Monster Energy. That was a paid marketing campaign by Monster Energy to have the characters drinking Monster Energy all the time.
I think in all the sports games there are like
sports
in
games.
Real life.
There, like you can be sure if you're playing an RPG and the vending machine has a branded soda in the vending machine, they didn't just put that there randomly. They went to Coke or Pepsi and say, hey, do you want your soda to be in this really popular RPG vending machine? Because otherwise we're just going to go to the other guys. But we're paying for the game and they're getting those marketing deals. What if those like branding deals paid for the game for us? That would be a bit fairer.
Well, I think maybe we just found a hole in the market, and maybe somebody who's just listened to this podcast and is actually indie or game developer could use this idea and find this podcast really useful.
Yeah.
I would
Free idea,
rather-
guys.
I would rather have product placement like that in a game than have an ad run every so often.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
it kind of, they could make it fit into the game itself. But if it was if it was just a regular ad, it would just kind of unimmerse you from the game, especially if it was a single player game.
But that's a different it's a different thing though, because the ad placement in the game benefits the developers plus the money that you paid for the game. But if it was like an ad that could pay for the game for someone that didn't necessarily have the money, like they make the game free because people will watch the ads. Like I hate you know what I'm saying? But it's in everything now. It's in shows. When you watch Hulu, there's ads in it. When you watch Xfinity, or whatever.
I mean, again, it's the YouTube model. It's how we can actually make money from YouTube. No viewer is paying us for our content. It's because advertisers put ads on our videos. That's why like anyone can make anyone is able to make a living on YouTube. So it's already in a lot of our entertainment. And it's true. I mean, Mikhail makes a really good point that it's kind of surprising that it hasn't fully infiltrated our PC games yet.
Maybe it's coming. Maybe after you release this podcast, it's coming.
Don't tell EA. Whatever you do, don't let EA know.
Wait,
I'm
maybe,
sure they have it in
maybe
their
we should
sites.
actually delete this podcast after we
Okay.
just to be sure.
Or cut this
If you're
part
listening
out.
to this,
No, EA,
Well,
EA
I-
would make you pay for the game, pay for DLC, and throw ads on the screen
Oh,
for you
yeah.
to watch.
There you
Make
go.
you pay to watch
There you
the
go.
ads.
Yeah, they make you pay to watch the ads.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys, like, talking about consolidation of all of this and how more and more games are going either free to play and or free to keep or on paid subscription services, and everything is consolidating. We're talking about the big deals in gaming as well. Like, do you think that it could be in 5 to 10 years, it could be a thing of the past to actually pay for an individual game, and everything is either going to be free to play or it's just behind a monthly subscription, and there's no everything will be okay. GTA 12 or whatever it is at that point will only be playable if you have a Game Pass subscription. And that'll be the only way to play the big games. It's just to sell the console, just to sell the monthly subscription. Do you think that that's where we're headed?
I think in 12 years it'll still be GTA 5.
Oh yeah, probably.
Well, that's a good point. Bad example. Yeah.
Well, Game
don't
Pass
know.
is huge.
Yeah, that's one of the big ones.
Like there's the streaming services for games. Obviously the streaming services for movies and TV shows. But there's streaming services like Google Stadia. There's the Amazon one. Netflix. It's called.
Netflix is going to be doing one too.
Netflix has one. I just
they're
tried.
gonna
Netflix has started. Netflix
Yeah,
has
there's-
given. It's like a few small mobile games, but they're trying to get into the gaming industry. Yeah.
There's PS Now, which I tried the other day. There's a little bit of input lag, but I mean it's playable. I'm trying to think of any other big ones.
Well, like you said with Stadia and GeForce Now, you actually have to buy those games.
GeForce Now you do. Stadia there's a lot of free stuff on there, but GeForce Now you actively have to own the game to be able to use it.
The biggest example is Game Pass.
Yeah.
Because that's almost it's a different thing, but it's kind of almost in the same topic. It's almost like the same topic, because I get Game Pass, or I got Game Pass for $1 for 3 months, and that always happens. I always get it for $1.
I was gonna say EA Play, but you could literally play EA Play through Game Pass for free.
You get EA
so
Play if you get Game Pass. So
it's
it's
ridiculous.
It's weird. Like Epic is doing this free thing, but are we kind of now going to get free games, or subscription, because if you look at like the movie scene with everything that's happened in the last couple of years, I think Ben Affleck said this, which is a weird reference, but he said that really the only movies that are going to be theater movies now are going to be the big Marvel blockbusters. All these indie movies, it's changed us, you know, because I don't go to the movies. I mean, I went to see Spider-Man, but I don't go to the movies really. I don't have like a want to go to the movies unless it's a big title. Like I'll go see Doctor Strange 2 or I'll see Morbius or whatever. And now, and especially like with Star Wars, they haven't made a Star Wars movie in so long.
About 3 or 4 years or something.
But I'm addicted to the Disney Plus stuff. And it's like, I like this subscription thing and I'm less likely to go to the movies. And it's kind of like a parallel with the gaming. I like the Game Pass stuff and I don't buy single player games all that often. So I don't know.
I think you don't pay $60 for a brand new game either. Because if it goes on Game Pass day one, you're already paying for the subscription. Yeah. You can just play it.
Well, Halo Infinite multiplayer went free on Steam. Was it on Epic? I don't think it was. Right?
No. Microsoft doesn't really talk to Epic that much, and I think it's because we didn't realize it like a couple of years ago, but I think it's because Microsoft has decided to own the game industry. They want to be top dog, and Game Pass is just blowing the competition out of the water. Like there's nothing that compares to Game Pass. Right now we don't. We have in the past for that like the $1 thing. I mean, right now with the free games on Epic, we have more than enough to play, and each week, we get new things that we kind of have to play. So adding a subscription service with an extra 100 games to the backlog doesn't make sense for us right now. But we have talked about if Epic Games stops giving away free games, we might just start covering everything new that comes to Game Pass.
Yeah. We were thinking about doing a Game Pass list.
Well, we didn't do it, right? We didn't do the list because we were thinking about doing it. What was it? What was gonna be put on Game Pass? We wanted to do the list with.
Halo was one of them.
Halo. There was all the Bethesda games that were added to it too, like all of them except like Deathloop or something.
Actually, some of our viewers, they ask us, because we have this video series, Weekly Free Gaming, where we cover only games that are really free, not like paid subscription. They ask us, will you cover also Game Pass?
Or Amazon Prime.
And we say like, we can't do everything. So if you have sources and time to do it, you might try it, and we will be happy to tell them Cubold Gaming does it. Go to them. So
yeah, that might be an interesting thing to do.
Yeah,
but I don't know. 5 to 10 years, will buying games not like be a thing anymore?
In my opinion, I think it still will be a thing.
I think
it would be less common.
Well, think about PlayStation. I mean, PlayStation, The Last of Us is like my favorite game. Last of Us, Uncharted series, God of War. I don't think those are ever going to go free just because PlayStation knows that that their partners make really good games, and they know people will buy a PlayStation for that. And the Spider-Man Miles Morales, like those are crazy successful.
Yeah,
I think those will always be around. But on PC, I think we might see more Game Pass stuff, type of model. I don't know.
I think agree, and I'm afraid we just touched the dark side of the free games, because the more free games or like $1 games we get, more we get used to it, and then when other games suddenly cost us $60, we are like, I can play games for $1. So I think you're right, like still big games that the series we love, we still gladly pay for, but since there's so many more games free or almost free, we're like used to it now. So I think it will continue, it will rise, and as you said, there will still be AAA games, or maybe AAA games and really small indie games that are as cheap as some subscriptions, and they can coexist. But maybe that's a question, like if there's going to be so many games as a paid subscription, will the creators of these games will still get enough money? Won't it like damage the big gaming studios.
I mean, in everything we see massive consolidation now on multiple levels in multiple industries, and of course, consolidation is not good for diversity.
Yeah.
So those smaller studios are going to get kind of strangled out or bought by the big companies, and hopefully still allowed to do their thing and to have some freedom and independence.
Well, I meant like if there's going to be suddenly too many subscriptions and you're gonna still pay like $10 for a subscription, but instead of 100 games you're gonna have 500 games, they still have to divide the same amount of money, so they get less money, right?
You would,
I was gonna mention before. What about if you look at, let's say, like game key sites, which game key sites are big. Like the three of us, have probably bought more games off of anything than game key sites. So how do you think the game key sites will do? Because it doesn't actually affect the developer, because the people buy the game from the developer or from a cheapo area, cheapo shop, and then sell it for even cheaper. So how do you think that would affect?
The perfect person to talk about that, actually.
Well, I had actually for about 5 years, I had a shop where I was selling the keys, game keys. And actually, when we are doing the reviews now of the free Epic games, we do it 1 week in advance. So we can release it as the game is free. So we need to buy these games. And of course, we're not buying like these games for $40 on Steam, and we just buy it like for $2 on these electronic games. So we're actually using it a lot, and I know some people are against it, like maybe there's some possibility of some hackers steal a lot of keys and then resell it, but we are not like strongly against it, because I think it's okay to use it, and if somebody has less money, it's totally fine to buy it for just part of the price than you would on the Steam.
But I also think it's interesting that in this changing game environment, that for your first few years, it was profitable, if I remember correctly, and you decided to shut it down.
Yeah.
Now, but why did you decide to shut it down? Like, it was 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, there was just least interest, and as the games actually get less expensive, it's then less profitable for me. Like, at the beginning, there was like still most of the games, not AAA games, but still like $40. Now with these subscriptions, the people just buy less of the paid games in general, I think.
I mean, I think the parallel to streaming sites is really apt. Like, I mean, Netflix is why Blockbuster went out of business. You know, Blockbuster was selling individual movies or renting individual movies, and as soon as you can pay a monthly fee to have access to all of it, something like that goes out of business. Those key sites and most game stores, I think, are probably doomed.
Yeah.
As
GameStop is for sure.
Oh yeah. And as soon as Game Pass gets larger and Epic Games gives out more free games, and you know, I don't know how Steam will go, but I actually do think that those game sites are probably doomed as well, just because since as a whole the gaming industry is going towards subscription or free, I think they just won't have enough material to keep things going. They might have a backlog of like older games that maybe you don't have access to or something. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, for sure.
But that means Steam just going the direction of like Indie Gala, basically, of saying, come here for the games that no one sells anymore because they're 10 years old and you can't get anywhere else. You know, those are very thin margins, so that would be a very different world.
Yeah.
There is on Steam. There are the early access games, which I mean I think Epic has, but they don't really have a specific like thing to show that they're early access. But on Steam, there's like an early access section. You can check out the games that are currently like in development, and like buy the game to kind of help the development of the game, which is a very cool idea, which I think Epic should jump onto as well, because they are only kind of marketing towards bigger games and free games, not like active developed games.
I think the early access section of Steam actually does really well.
It does.
And PUBG was in early access. Lost Ark was in early access, which I think just came out.
It's coming out tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, and that game is huge. But I think, like what you said, Yeah, the
Actually,
indie
Epic Game Store is just introduced and early access games, but since they still have very little games compared to Steam, of course they're like introducing even this, but it's getting slow. Of course, Steam is still so big, has so many like different possibilities for the games, but they're slowly introducing early access as well.
Yeah,
That's cool.
but I think the way you described it is like an indie game, central place that I think Steam does really well. And I think that Steam is kind of like a home for developers that don't want to go to Epic or kind of do that thing. It's kind of like a home for indie developers to go there. Like I mentioned before, Inscription, which kind of blew up, and I think it's overwhelmingly positive right now.
It's still up there.
Yeah, and that was like kind of like it almost seems like a passion game. I haven't played it myself, but I've seen videos on it and stuff. And I think I don't know, that seems like it has a long shelf life. I can see that going on for years and years, but I think I don't know. I mean, it just depends on how much, because Microsoft has so much money, they can just buy so many companies, and it's a little worrying because, like I said before, more of the power is going to these corporations and stuff, and less to us. Because I could pay $1 for a 3-month subscription, but that doesn't necessarily correlate to how I enjoy certain games on there. Because I didn't pay for that individual game. I'd rather just have a subscription that's included.
And Microsoft's store is horrible too.
Oh, it's
Like it never works right.
yeah, their launcher's pretty bad. I don't think as bad as the EA launcher or whatever that.
Yeah, Origin.
Yeah, Origin.
Or EA Desktop. EA Desktop is a lot
yeah, they have
worse
Origin
than
and EA Desktop. Like they have two. I
But-
don't know.
It's
I mean,
weird.
I don't know how Microsoft can spend like $70 billion on Activision, and like how much money would it take to make a decent store launcher?
Yeah.
Like, because it's $70 billion, like $100 million to like hire 50 programmers for a year and give them all the money that they can possibly use and make a better store. Like they could, with the money they have, they could like blow Epic out of the water, in a year. Epic would not
Yeah.
exist anymore. And you would go to Game Pass for your subscriptions. Anything that's not there, you would buy it either on Steam or the Microsoft Store. I don't know why they're not
Well,
doing
you
it.
might think it's easy, but if you like give this opportunity to some programmer and they know Microsoft setting, and there's no way I can fix that. I would have to remain it completely. So maybe it's not that easy because it's so bad that it's maybe beyond fixing.
So start with Linux.
Yeah, start with the new
build
one.
it on Linux and well, like for you guys, maybe like summing up here, like you're dedicated gamers, all this stuff that we've talked about, especially this movement towards like free to play and free to keep games. Does this make you more excited or more worried about the future of gaming?
I don't know.
I'm
It's
pretty
mixed
neutral
feelings,
about it.
Mixed feelings.
I think it just depends. I think part of me is worried because I don't want things to get more mobilized, but the other half of me is like, well, it just gives people more opportunity to play games. But
as long as they do a good job of giving the people that want to keep the same type of thing, like you pay $40-$60 for a new game, and they have the free games that maybe have the ads or that type of thing in it, I hope they don't just throw away everything else in the past and turn it into a new thing. I hope they kind of just give you options.
Now, if Steam made a Game Pass like subscription, that would be a game
Oh,
changer
wow.
right
yeah,
there.
Yes.
that would,
Yeah.
But they
Why
would have
haven't they done that?
We've talked about it, how they could compete. They could literally compete with Microsoft, and I mean, I don't
Overnight.
know, but yeah,
Yeah.
literally, if there was enough games on it, they could, because there's a huge group of people, like I would include myself into this, but all of us pretty much, and I'm assuming you guys too, that you don't want that part of buying like an indie game to go away. That's like $10, like Terraria. It's like $10, great game. You don't really want that to go away to where it's mobilized and free, and so I think the subscription kind of retains some of that feeling, but I don't know. I mean, I have hopes that there still will be that element of buying a game and getting that satisfaction from
Yeah.
it, but how about you guys? What are you worried or
I think I'm on the very same page with you. I don't care as much as I can keep playing the games I like. I don't care if there's some games that have optional ads or there's optional to pay them for $1. You got 5. I don't care if I can if the still games like Dark Souls keep coming up. I'm only positive about it. Like, if you don't touch my games, I don't care what you do with your games.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's it.
Now, I think that's selfish. That we can agree is
Is it
selfish.
bad?
Bad selfish. I think that's bad
Okay,
selfish.
So what's your opinion on that?
You know, I'm really glad we had this conversation because it's something I've been thinking about different elements of it for a long time, and I feel like I got to an unexpected place that I'm actually cautiously optimistic, and I didn't see that coming. I see, especially
in the winter.
especially considering it's February in the Czech Republic. It gets dark at 4:30 p.m.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Spring is coming. It'll be fine. Especially the question of access, of knowing like how many people who had no access to gaming before now have access to so many amazing experiences. And even if it comes with, more annoying loot boxes or ads or things like that for us, this is actually, it's a huge and kind of traumatic transition, but this is the democratization of video games. This is a whole new era for tens of millions of people to be able to play video games, whether it's mobile games or have access to these big experiences that were never possible before. So I think that blows everything else out of the water. And what still concerns me a lot is the effect on indie developers. Will we still have space for, very unique, creative, small studios to do their thing and still be appreciated for bringing new experiences? But I think there's room for that. Netflix and Amazon Prime Video and all of this have not completely destroyed the indie movie scene. They've just kind of brought it into the fold, and it depends how it's done. If Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo or whatever can acquire these companies but still value them for their individuality and creativity, then it could be a bright new renaissance of video games. Or they could go completely corporate and crush it, and we'll have nothing but loot boxes and battle royale clones for the next 10 years. It could go either way, and there's a handful of people in the gaming industry that are going to decide which way it goes.
Yeah. And maybe there's something that we don't realize fully because we think there's so many games, but there's actually more and more gamers, and as we go more digital, there are people who didn't play any games, and maybe there's new games like Fortnite. I don't think a lot of gamers play Fortnite, so people who actually play Fortnite didn't play anything else and maybe would never go into gaming. So there are more and more gamers, so I think it's okay to have more opportunities for different games. So I think we're going to be fine.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of excited. I think I have to say that I'm excited about where this is going. It's different and some parts of it are annoying, but just like how YouTube kind of broke open the content creator world, none of this was possible. We could not talk with everyone who's listening to this just 10 years ago. There were no avenues for us to be just independent creators, and now it is. And so I hope that this transition of gaming kind of provides similar opportunities somehow in a different way, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that because there's that part of me behind me that's don't touch my games type of, like you were saying.
The selfish part.
Yeah, that's that part is talking to me, but I'm gonna try to focus on what you said because I actually like how you put it. I like that we're kind of breaking open this can of gaming that wasn't previously accessible to all these people, and it could. I'm gonna keep optimistic about it. I like that.
Yeah.
Change can be good.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's probably going to do it. Be sure to rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast platform you're listening to right now. Go subscribe to Should You Play It. They're great. They publish a lot of great content. They're always active. not only if you just want Epic Game stuff, but you want reviews and live streams. They have a great, actually a really great community over there. A lot of people that love them and kind of, they'll welcome you into the community. So go subscribe to them.
We mentioned a lot of negative comments here in this podcast, but in general, like we have like an amazing fan base and people who are like just supportive and encouraging for absolutely no reason, and they're the reasons why we keep doing it. So you're absolutely right. We have an amazing community.
We basically remember only the negative one because we have so many positive ones.
Right. The positive ones are like, oh yeah, standard. What did you say?
Their community consists of only the people that have bad stuff to say. No, they have a really good community. They have a really cohesive community for sure. So go subscribe to them. Subscribe to our CuboldCast YouTube so you can see us, you can see them. You can look at last week's and watch us eat the terrible candies and us being tortured. Thank you guys for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
For being here and being guests on the show. It was a lot of fun. We got to do this again, and hopefully we can get more people on the show and
more collabs with people, stuff like that.
Yeah, explore more. So.
Thank you for having us. We enjoyed it as well, and we like to brainstorm with other gamers as well.
Yeah,
yes,
that was awesome. I enjoyed that very much. Be sure to check them out, and we will see you in the next episode.